Hello and welcome to Country Sports TV. This interview that I'm doing with Mike Jones will also be on the Cider Party channel. On the Cider Party channel on Facebook, we had a post put up there, and Mike has put a petition up asking the government to reduce the tax on 4x4s and basically thank us for the way we stepped in over the last weekend over the snow. Now Mike, let me put my headphones on and we'll get Mike on Skype and see what he's got to say for himself. Right, Mike, what's the idea of this petition that you've set up?
Well, I just wanted to bring like awareness to all the people that stepped up in all the bad weather when obviously it's not the emergency services fault they couldn't get there and stuff like that, but it was the farmers, the 4x4 enthusiasts, and we just stepped up and went out in our own time after work, during work, and just dragged motors out to help people instead of them spending a cold night in their car. The idea is hopefully to bring down the tax on 4x4 vehicles. People don't like 4x4 vehicles because they're gas guzzlers, they destroy the environment and stuff like that. But without those gas guzzlers, a lot of people would have been stranded those last few nights.
Yeah, I've got a 4x4. I'm a pigeon shooter. That's my main thing, and I do pest control for farmers, shoot foxes and things like that. So I need a 4x4. Yeah. I got a small holding, and it's useful. It's not a Chelsea tractor.
No.
You know, it cost me £2,000. It's an old one. It's 10 years old, but it's a 4x4 and it's a workhorse for me. And last weekend I was delivering coal to old people who the coalman couldn't get through. I also had to take somebody to hospital, but the road was actually blocked and they needed a tractor to clear it out, and that didn't happen until the day after. And all over the country, Taunton Hospital in Somerset had 4x4s taking the nurses and the doctors into work.
A lot of that is done by a voluntary charity as well. They are called 4x4 Response, yeah. And they do a brilliant job. But there's just not enough people around that do it, and that's why it was amazing how many people stepped up. I saw farmers driving out of their field in their tractors to drag motors up the hill and help people. You know, the way that everyone stepped up is amazing. Yeah. The only thing that I don't want to change is people that buy these Chelsea tractors, the great big Range Rovers, to drive around on the road. If they can afford to buy those motors, then they can afford to pay for the tax.
Yeah, but if you've got a Land Rover, it's a labour of love.
Yeah.
You know, because you've got to keep it going. You can still get the parts. There's a place in Bristol, Land Rover International. They do all the parts for Land Rovers. I've had a Land Rover myself. Yeah. But unfortunately, my Land Rover needed a new subframe, and the body needed to come off, new subframe in. And I haven't got the time to do it.
No.
And the cost was too much, so I sold it to a friend, and he completely rebuilt it.
Yeah, it is a labour of love. You know, a lot of us that were out are all we just love our vehicles. You know, my Land Rover, my little 90, I've put my heart and soul into that motor. You know, and to go out and actually be able to help people was amazing. You know, all off of our own back. We all spent the time to do this. You know, our own fuel, our own recovery equipment. I ended up breaking strops and stuff like that, pulling lorries out of ditches and stuff. But at the end of the day, those people are going to go home, well, potentially and hopefully going to go home, be nice and warm, be with their family.
Now, you started this petition, obviously, after the weekend, after the snow.
Yeah,
you've had over 65,000 so far.
Yes.
which is an incredible feat. If
Yeah,
you get if you
I
get
didn't think it was going to go like that. I really didn't.
yeah, yeah, you don't realise how many there are. There's a lot of 4x4 drivers out there, and there's a lot of people who support us. I think we're the silent majority.
Yeah,
You know, we're
definitely.
not the campaigners. We're not the vegans, vegetarians. Just get on with our work, get on with our jobs. Um, and you lot did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Now,
Yeah,
this petition,
yes.
are you asking the government to 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 thank you?
I think that it wouldn't hurt for them to do it. They done it for the emergency services, which they obviously done a fantastic job. They applauded the AA, the RAC, and other organisations like that, but they never once really bothered about us little 4x4
Yeah,
drivers.
who did
You
it
know,
voluntary?
who done it voluntary, yeah,
Yeah,
and took time out of our own families. Like, I didn't see my son for 2 days. All we wanted to do was go out and play in the snow, and I didn't see him because I
yeah.
was too busy helping other people.
And what else do you want with the petition? You were talking about road tax in it.
It would be nice if not for all 4x4s. The people that are actually willing to help, but like the older vehicles that they're trying to phase out. To maybe get some help with the tax, some appreciation for what has happened. A lot of people that had older 4x4s were out helping their neighbours,
Yeah,
their community. I was towing ambulances, and stuff like that.
yeah. Well,
And
there was Series 2 and Series 3 Land Rovers out.
yeah. It's the thing is the bulk of everything you see on Facebook or the internet is an old motor,
Mm,
or if you look at the vehicle, it's an old off-roader that is helping people out, and that's because they know they can. They get a bit of an achievement for doing it, and they're helping.
yeah.
And what why it is voluntary, but why should we be really penalised when we've helped the government out?
Taunton Hospital asked for volunteers. Southmead Hospital in Bristol asked for volunteers, and then they had to put out a press release, um, tweet, whatever they did, saying, "Please stop volunteering. We've got enough guys now."
Yeah.
So we really stepped up to the plate.
And now they're trying to penalise everyone that's bought a diesel car, by putting all these
Yeah,
cordons in. We got one coming in Southampton soon, which means that within a certain radius, if you have a diesel vehicle, you can't take it into Southampton.
that's ridiculous.
It's a bit like the London charge for going into London. They're trying to do the same sort of thing. But again, for someone like me who is just a enthusiast and enjoys his off-roading, or a farmer who has to go and deliver his stuff or pick up stuff, why should he not be able to go into Southampton to do it?
Yeah. Well, what happens if there's another snowbound city,
Yeah,
wherever in the country? We don't know how it's going to happen.
yeah,
Say we get another weekend, all over the country, and then we get a big freeze on top, like we did in
yeah,
'62,
yeah.
and they rely on 4x4s to back everybody up.
There won't
If
be no
if a
4x4s left.
if a city's got a ban, how are we going to get in there?
Exactly. That's the other questions that need to be asked as well. So if they put this in place in Southampton where you can't go in, can you then go in if there's a problem, or are you going to be charged £50 to go and help on top
Yeah,
of the 50? I
yeah.
I done nearly £100 in fuel over the few days.
We want a freeze on the tax or a reduction,
Yeah,
and we want to be recognised for being
my
the
main
backup
my,
vehicles for the nation when they need it.
my main thing would be to start off with, be publicly recognised. Do you know what I mean? So that we the transport minister can go, right, you know, I have thanked all the other people, but you know, there is someone, you know, people that we have forgot. You know, the little 4x4 drivers. You know, maybe a thank you. It wouldn't cost anything to do that. It wouldn't hurt. That's a starting point, and maybe they need to look into helping us in the future for like not being able to raise the tax by so much because they're gas guzzling 4x4s, which they're not. You know, like you said, mine does about 30 to the gallon.
And they got to pass emissions test anyway to get an MOT.
Yeah, mine is very, very clean on the emissions. It's very clean. But I think half of that is because we all look after our motors.
Yeah.
The last thing we want is to be halfway up a byway in Wales, for argument's sake, which is, you know, a good 3 hours drive for me in my Land Rover, because I only plod at 50 mile an hour in it.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. A lot of our old 4x4s that we use, we haven't got computers in that when we put it in for an MOT will reduce the CO2 emissions to pass the test, like Volkswagen.
Yeah. That's the thing. You know, ours either pass or they don't.
Yeah, totally.
It's a bit of appreciation. A thanks doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, somebody's got to say, hey, hang on a minute. These lads came out voluntary. They got all these 4x4s. The country needs them.
Yeah.
In time of crisis. We don't know when we're going to get this snow again.
No.
Let's face it, we've had 10, 20 years of mild weather.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
Well, I think the last proper snow I remember was in 2010-ish or 2012 maybe. And, you know, even then I was out in my Land Rover then pulling vehicles around again.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that I do regardless. Whatever happens, I'll still do it. You know, whether it's flooding, I've been out, there's a river down near us that bursts its banks all the time. I've been out dragging motors through that. You know, I don't ever ask for anything, but just a bit of appreciation.
Yeah.
Going this.
Right, what can I put? I'll start again. I'll put a link to your petition onto the video, so if anybody wants to sign up, they can, and I would urge everybody to do that.
I spoke to the man that writ the bit to the Transport Minister. I spoke to him, so it wasn't me that wrote that.
Yeah, all right.
Whatever. But I spoke to him, and he's absolutely amazed that it's gone so far and how well it's done.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
If you get 100,000,
the
government will have to debate it in Parliament.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? It's not far off, is it?
No. No.
But I didn't even think I was going to get like 100 people do it. But to have like, what is it, 65,000?
65,000 this morning.
Yeah, that's.
And it was still going up while I was looking at it.
Yeah, it's crazy, absolute crazy. But it just shows that people do believe in it. You know what I mean? They, you know, and I know that probably maybe half of them might even just be Chelsea tractor owners. You know what I mean? Trying to.
I'll see if I can. Yeah.
Trying to like get their tax down on their £2,000 a year tax or whatever it is. But if they've got that sort of motor, they can afford to pay the tax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I haven't got it. I did have a link to it on my page, but I did a clean of the computer. Anyway, thanks, Mike. You've done brilliant.
No problem. Thank you.
It's one of these things, you've hit the nail on the head and you've come up at the right time.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank you on behalf of all 4x4 drivers for highlighting what we do.